Prepare yourself for the terror. The prison of madness, where few enter and none return.
Welcome to Unsung Horrors with Lance and Erica.
Leave all your sanity behind. It can't help you now.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Unsung Horrors, the podcast where we discuss underseen horror films, specifically those with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica.
And for this episode...
Wait.
Oh?
Yeah. For folks who don't know, I mean, maybe you do know if you've been listening for a while, but Lance is the world's best co-host.
Oh, thanks.
He's not only like the nicest person on the planet. So this is coming out the day after his birthday. So please be sure to wish him a happy birthday. I'm going to do that now, though, with his present.
Oh, no. This is a surprise.
Here you go.
Oh, shit. Yes. Folks, I'm looking at The Return of the Swamp Thing on vinyl. This is amazing.
TerrorVision put this out.
Yeah. I do not own this. Okay, well, I guess I'm spending too much time just staring at it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and happy birthday.
Thank you. Yes, this episode will come out the day after my birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Now I just want to go listen to this Return of the Swamp Thing. Can we record this on another date?
I mean, I probably should have given it to you the end of the episode, but some people tune out after double feature picks or after the next episode.
Wait, what? Why would people do that?
I don't know. They don't want to hear our social plugs or whatever. They're already following. These are our loyal listeners who are, they stick around to the end because they want to see what song we put there, maybe.
Yes, everybody should do that.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, we put a lot of thought into
Well, after
what goes
double
at the
feature
end.
picks is the next episode.
And then we do social plugs and
Right.
then outro songs. So there's some people I think who tune out. I mean, I look at like when people are tuning out in the episodes, and it usually is around that point. But
I see.
I wanted to make sure everyone knew it was your birthday because
Thank you so much.
It is the United States does not recognize it as a holiday, but I do.
Oh, well, yeah. I think everybody should have their birthday off with any company they're working for or anywhere they work. The U.S. is shitty.
Yes.
So are the cops, which we'll be talking about in this
we're going to talk
episode.
about shitty cops.
Shitty men. This is basically called... this episode we're covering an action horror.
Yes.
Right? A canon film, Midnight Ride from 1990.
It began as a trip to freedom,
I've done it. I'm leaving Lawson.
but became a journey into darkness.
Hi. Listen, you think I could ask you for a ride, please?
The first mistake was to give him a ride.
Hey, Lieutenant, how you doing?
You see my wife come through here?
Oh, geez, I thought I recognized her, but she had some guy with her.
What am I going to do with you?
Don't run away from me, okay?
The last mistake
Promise!
was trying to escape
Catch me now.
a madman.
Justin was one of the worst cases I've ever dealt with.
This one makes you look, alive.
Profoundly sociopathic.
On the road
You're busted.
to destruction. Mark Hamill, Savina Gershak, Michael Dudikoff, Robert Mitchum. Midnight Ride.
It's currently streaming on YouTube and Fubo for anybody who might have a subscription.
Fubo.
Fubo. I don't know if we've ever shouted out Fubo.
I don't believe we have. No.
Okay, I'm gonna admit that I do subscribe to Fubo during baseball season because that's the only way I could watch the Astros.
Okay. So I didn't know what Fubo was. So now I do. And
It's like a cable. It's overpriced and probably not worth it. But they do stream movies.
okay.
Okay, and Midnight Ride has 660 views on Letterboxd.
6 more people, folks. Get in there.
Exactly. It's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, so listen to this terrible synopsis of Midnight Ride on IMDb and Letterboxd.
Oh, boy.
That someone very poorly wrote. Quote, a housewife just left her cop husband, and then she picks up Justin McKay. She'll wish she never did as she's plunged into a nightmare and the grip of a psychotic killer. So this is worded in a way that makes it sound like she should be sorry for leaving her husband.
Yeah.
Who's a complete fucking asshole who we'll talk about here in a bit.
Yeah.
But here's a quick, more accurate synopsis of Midnight Ride. A woman named Laura finally leaves her husband, who has aggressive anger issues and only cares about his job as a cop. But she picks a poor time to leave, though, because he's there at home watching TV and suddenly flips out when she confirms she's leaving. He forces himself into the car to try to talk her out of it, and she's having none of it and leaves him at an ice cream shop. But as she's driving away, he starts yelling threats to her and ends up stealing another cop's police cruiser to chase after her. During this time, a killer named Justin just murdered a woman in town and is looking to get out of town to visit his doctor, but he can't rent a car because he doesn't have a credit card. So he hitches a ride with Laura. It's quickly established that he's completely unstable and that Laura is now in a totally different, shitty situation with a completely different, crazy guy who happens to love to take pictures with his Polaroid camera. And he seems to have an endless supply of film. Mm. But the whole movie is basically the crazy killer murdering people along his and Laura's road trip to see his doctor as her possessive, shitty cop husband pursues them. So that's my quick synopsis of this. So Midnight Ride, directed by Bob Brauver. He directed 3 feature films, Midnight Ride being his second. And his first film, his director is probably more well-known among horror fans because Vinegar Syndrome released it a few years ago. That's Rush Week.
Yeah, I looked this up and apparently I've watched this and I gave it 3 stars and I have zero memory of watching it.
I think you had recommended it to me too. You're like, you should probably pick up Rush Week from...
That sounds familiar.
And I recently just watched it.
Okay.
I did pick it up.
Okay.
And I watched it for the first time. And I know why you recommended it. There's a Halloween party first off.
Okay.
There's a lot of live bands playing, frat parties and stuff.
Okay. You know what? I bet I probably recommended it when we recorded Primal Rage then. That would make sense.
Yeah, I think it was, no, it was released in 2021, but maybe you did watch it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either, but you did recommend it. I mean, it to me, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's an okay movie. It is a little bit forgettable.
Yeah.
Like it's forgettable.
I mean, I forgot. I looked it up and I should watch that. Oh, I already did.
Yeah, it's nothing special. I mean, the soundtrack is kind of a banger. It has Devo, Dead Milkman, the Dickies who actually play the Halloween party in the movie pop up.
Yeah. Okay, now.
I loved that the killer in Rush Week uses a fucking battle axe to kill their victims. But it's tame because they don't ever show the murders. They just show the axe coming down. I feel like it's holding back most of the film.
Sure.
Greg Allman plays a hippie professor, though, named Cosmo Kincaid.
Hell yeah.
And he was really funny. I was kind of hoping he would pop up in Midnight Ride because I watched this before Midnight Ride again. Yeah, and then the other thing, the lead, Pamela Ludwig from Rush Week, she plays the rental car agent in Midnight Ride. I think she might be the first face that pops up on screen.
Okay.
Which is a funny introduction to the movie. The whole scene's really funny. And the only thing that I thought Rush Week really had going for it was necrophilia was happening as a practical joke.
Yes. See, okay. Now it's coming back to me. How do I forget a movie that has necrophilia in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my own fault.
Yeah, there's a button in there that I really want to make that's posted like a bulletin board. And it says necrophilia is a dying art. That's all it says. And I'm like, I'm going to make that and I'm going to sell it and make millions. But yeah, it's fine. Rush Week's fine. I wish it kind of leaned harder into the actual kills, gore, and necrophilia. After Midnight Ride, Brauver directed American Ninja 5.
I've only seen up to 3, I feel like.
3, okay. So yeah, Michael Dudikoff was in the first 2.
I know I've seen the first 2. I think I've seen the third one. Probably not. You know what? I take it back. I've seen 1 and 2.
I know I saw 1 a long time ago, but I went ahead and watched American Ninja 5.
Oh.
I just jumped ahead.
Yikes.
And it made sense because it wasn't intended to be an American Ninja sequel.
Okay.
Canon Group changed the name. I think the original title was American Dragons, but Canon decided to retitle it before its release. It's okay. I mean, Bob Browder used the name Bobby Jean Leonard, and I'm not certain of the reasons for the pseudonym. After watching it, I kind of understand, but I thought it was kind of fun.
Okay.
There's this one funny scene before I knew and read about American Ninja 5 not being an actual sequel. There's a scene where one of the bad guys is telling his boss that all of his men got his ass kicked by some, quote, little ninja man. And he's referring to this little kid named Hero, who David Bradley, who's the American Ninja, is taking care of. But apparently Little Ninja Man was also an original working title. But it's good. I mean, I get Canon changing the title, even though it's a completely different character and has nothing to do with American Ninja. But that's what sells, right? American Ninja 5.
Yeah.
Super cheesy, though. It's pretty much like a buddy comedy. Pat Morita plays a master ninja, by the way. But after watching all three of his feature films, Bob Browder's, you can tell that he shines when filming action, right? Midnight Ride is definitely more action than horror.
Yeah.
And it makes sense given his career because he was a stuntman before he became a director. He directed a shit ton of TV series episodes, Knight Rider, The A-Team, early 90s Dragnet. So, action was kind of his forte. He was good at it. And his career as a stuntman was mainly in television, doing stunts or stunt coordinator for MacGyver, Starsky and Hutch, Knight Rider, Battlestar Galactica. But he did some stunts for feature films like Roadhouse, Darkman, the Star Trek motion picture, Paul Bartel's Death Race 2000, Chud 2, Bud the Chud.
Hell yeah.
But he started his stunt career in 1966 doing a lot of Westerns, and he's kind of kept doing it. I saw the last stunt credit coming into 2020. He's an older guy too, but he could just be sitting there and say, flip better.
Yeah.
Flip like, I don't know. I don't know how coordinators really work. But anyways, I'm a fan of stuntmen getting behind the camera because they know how to film. They know how stunt gags work. They know how they should be filmed, at what angle, for the most part.
I think that they're good behind the camera in action films. Like when it comes to that, I think that when we start getting into like horror, I mean, specifically special effects artists getting behind the camera, there's a good chunk of movies like that have who's it, Gabe Bartolos or whatever, who has amazing special effects, but he directed Skinned Deep, and I fucking hate that movie.
I've never seen Skinned Deep. I know the poster, and it's basically like showcasing its special effects. Its practical effects.
Exactly. And like there's a few others that have come around, and it's frustrating because it's like the special effects are the best part of the movie because they want to showcase their work, but then they're not paying attention to everything else that goes into making a film. So then it turns out to be not a great movie. It's like, well, it's got great effects, but movie.
That's very true with stuntmen becoming directors because Class of 1999 2, The Substitute that I watched during Genesploitation. I mean, that was directed by another stuntman, Spiro Rosados.
Yeah.
And I talked about it a little bit in Genesploitation, but you get it in Midnight Ride. Basically, there's some killings going on, but between the murders, the director's like, we need another 2 fucking explosions.
Yeah.
Like, let's blow up a fucking car. All right. The kills are dragging this movie down. Craig R. Baxley is another stuntman turned director. This guy I think is legit because he focused solely on action. He did Stone Cold. He did Dark Angel, Action Jackson.
Oh, okay.
So this guy knew where, Dark Angel's kind of like a sci-fi horror, but it's an action film. So I feel like, it's a good point what you say about special effects, people becoming directors and stuntmen becoming directors. This is Bob Browder's only writing credit, other than a few television episodes. And I'm willing to bet he wrote a lot of the action scenes like we just talked about, like especially the scene where Dudikoff steals a car, off of a moving semi. That's a car. It's a truck car hauler, whatever they're called. Completely unnecessary scene.
Oh, yeah.
But I bet he looked at the script and the script said like, the Lawson character steals a car from like a passerby, and he's like, "No, let's spend 10 minutes of him crawling over a semi, stealing a car." And it was co-written by Russell V. Manzat, who also wrote Rush Week and some other lesser-known movies. I've already mentioned Midnight Ride as a canon film. I think this is the second we covered. The first being, one of our collectively favorites, Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hyde. So this isn't a Golan and Globus production, but it is an Ovidio G. Asinides production.
That's our boy.
It is our boy. We've mentioned him quite a bit in past episodes.
Aww.
Director Beyond the Door, Madhouse, obviously.
Yeah.
Special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Tentacles. His producer credits include The Visitor, The Curse, a few of the American Ninja movies, including Part 5. Okay, so we never really talk about casting as far as crew goes.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out, because Mark Hamill at this time during Midnight Ride was probably not on a lot of people's minds to play like a crazy serial killer.
Sure.
Maybe he was looking for odd roles, which, I applaud. But Ed Mitchell did casting for Midnight Ride, and looking over his other casting jobs, I think he did a really killer job. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Night Game, which we covered Night Game. Roy Scheider and Paul Gleason, they make the movie. Like these character actors and performances make the movie. Sonny Boy, which I know you just watched.
I did, yeah.
With David Carradine, Brad Dourif, Paul L. Smith. He cast that movie. And I think that movie, I watched that movie a year or so ago, and I thought it was, I saw you just recently watched it too.
Last night, yeah.
I thought it was, I think the cast and performances and the characters are obviously what make that movie.
Yeah, it is. It's this very weird movie because it feels like it should be an exploitation film, but it's got a heart, and it's like...
Yeah, it has this weird family dynamic.
Yeah, it's really sad, and like Brad Dourif is just fucking off the rails in it. Like, I love him to pieces and everything he's in. Paul Smith is just doing his, Pieces, Gardner, Scowl, the whole...
Stink eye, yeah.
His stink eye the whole time, and like David Carradine in drag the whole time, and like...
And there's a song that David Carradine wrote it.
He wrote the song.
And the first lyrics are actually on his tombstone.
No shit.
Yeah, like the first 3 or 4 lines. I remember when I watched Sonny Boy, I was like, this song, it says David Carradine sung it in the credits. I'm into it. So I like looked it up, and I was like, yeah, he was really proud of the movie, proud of the song. It's actually, the first couple of lines are engraved on his tombstone. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's sad.
That's amazing.
I looked it up. I saw a picture. I cried. But yeah, Sonny Boy, I recommend. But yeah, also the casting director, Ed Mitchell, I just have to point out, Children of the Corn 5. He casted that. So
no.
I'm sorry. Again, you get David Carradine in it, and you get Fred Williamson as the sheriff.
Got a great cast,
right.
But like... then I blame this man for getting me excited about watching that Children of the Corn movie.
So Ed Mitchell did his job. He's making people watch movies,
right?
When, they're not worth watching.
Yeah, good for you, Ed Mitchell.
Shout out to Ed Mitchell.
Not get those 90 minutes of my life back though.
Yeah, I recently watched that. It's pretty bad. Okay, last few crew members to mention. Cinematographer Robert Diattore Piazzoli, who shot some Italian bangers, Beyond the Door, Madhouse, Raiders of Atlantis, Luigi Cozzi's Star Crash, Tentacles, Piranha 2. He also shot Sonny Boy. Mm-hmm. Some good stuff.
Yeah.
And then we have the composer Carlo Maria Cordio. To me, for Midnight Ride, he understood the assignment.
I think so. He had a lot of credits that he was a co-composer. Like there were multiple people on it. So there's a few that there weren't, like Enigma and Sonny Boy, like besides the David Carradine song, he's solely listed on there. But yeah, I think he understood like what this movie is. And I think the score fits really well with it.
Yeah, it's like a perfect little 90s thriller, just enough sexy saxophone. I feel like if you inputted like into AI, make a 90s thriller soundtrack, you'd have something that sounds very similar to Midnight Ride. But yeah, a lot of code stuff. I mean, he worked on Pieces, Troll 2, Absurd, Endgame, some good stuff. He makes movies better, like Ed Mitchell, the casting guy. Okay, the cast. Any other crew members you want to talk about?
I got them.
So much like our last episode that we covered, Two-Fisted Tales, Midnight Ride has a lot of unknown actors that you're probably just not familiar with. First, I'll go with the lesser-known name. The man playing the serial killer, a guy named Mark Hamill, or is it Hamill? I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Yeah, no.
But he starred in a bunch of sci-fi films, like something called A New Hope.
Yeah,
Empire
some
Strikes
space
Back.
adventure stories.
Yeah,
I don't know. It looked like a knockoff of Star Crash, so
it totally was. That's what. First time I watched it, I was like, "Wait, what came out first? Because this is Star Crash." Okay, yeah, lightsaber. No, but seriously, I mean, we're covering a movie that stars Luke Skywalker as a creepy, unstable serial killer. And looking over Hamill's filmography, there's a lot of stuff that people have never really heard of, So Midnight Ride kind of fits into it. It's understandable that we're able to pull one of his lesser known movies on an episode.
Mm-hmm.
But people seem to only care about, obviously, his Star Wars roles, his animated Batman movie, voice acting roles as the Joker. But most of my favorite, probably like straight up my favorite Mark Hamill roles are his horror films, where he just fucking camps out. Body Bags and Toby Hooper's Eye segment, where he plays the baseball player who loses an eye in a car accident. John Carpenter's Village of the Damned. So I'm not a fan of the movie. I'm not a very big fan of that movie at all.
Yeah.
But his character as the priest, as the Reverend guy, he's completely captivating. Like, I love his scene. And then he plays like a tiny little cop, because he's a little guy, a tiny little cop with a massive mustache in Mick Garris's Sleepwalkers. So I love his little smaller roles in horror films. I think
you should have said, like, isn't he a little short for a
that's very good. That's very good. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. But I'm going to say, I think Midnight Ride showcases his talent as an actor.
Yeah, there was this other one that I watched from 1977. It was a TV pilot movie called The City. And it starred Don Johnson and Robert Forster.
Nice.
And basically, they're chasing Hamill for the whole movie, or pilot, or whatever you want to call it. So it starts off with Hamill. He's working at a gas station, and he gets some letter, and he just flips out, and he kills someone who pulled into the gas station to get gas, and he just smashes the car, then beats the guy, and then runs off. And so then the cops show up. It's Robert Forster and his partner, and then Don Johnson. Robert Forster's, spoiler, partner dies later. So then him and Don Johnson have to team up to go after Mark Hamill. The whole premise of it is that in the letter, he somehow found out that some famous country singer isn't really his dad. And so I know it's really weird. But most of it is just like Robert Forster and Don Johnson chasing Mark Hamill. And Mark Hamill is a little off the rails in this one.
Yeah.
You get a few like Joker laughs in it, as you do. And, he's young. He's a baby, and this is 1977. So it's on YouTube. It's a really shitty copy. So, I mean, it's fine, I guess. I'm not going to hard recommend it, but it's, I love Robert Forster and anything. So.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I guess Mark Hamill has, people obviously recognized his voice. Mm-hmm. He can really control his, emote emotions, and then he's a great voice actor. He's been doing it for like the last 3 decades. That's kind of all he's really doing now, which makes sense. It seems a lot easier.
Yeah, last Star Wars movie I saw him, and he just seemed grumpy. And I was like, what? This is
I think he has like 15 minutes of screen time, but he got paid millions and millions. I feel like these character roles and these horror roles and voice act, it's just him saying like, fuck you, Luke Skywalker, thanks for all the money.
Right.
I'm going to take these roles because they're fun as hell.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have Laura, the character Laura, who is played by Slovenian actress Savina Gersic. I hate to say that I found her to be a little stiff.
Yeah.
Just very boring.
I don't hate to say it. She was.
She's an essential role. She does her job. She reads her lines, but as far as performance goes,
she's never really seems scared or determined when she's trying to get away from her husband. When we get to the end, I'm going to have some fucking words about her. I mean, I know it's not her fault as the actress, but like...
Yeah, no, the ending is fucking annoying.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get to that. But I'm willing to guess that producer Astonides landed this role for her because he's been associated with most of her previous work.
Okay.
She was in Sonny Boy, Beyond the Door 3, The Curse 2, The Lone Runner, Iron Warrior, all Astonides productions. Again, I don't think she's that great of an actress.
Nope.
So,
Sorry
but I did.
if you're still alive.
No, yeah, because I read in her film bio that after unsuccessful attempts to pursue an international career in acting in the 1990s, she retired from acting, settled in Rome, where she practices as a psychotherapist.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Midnight. I think her meeting the Robert Mitchum character like inspired her. Okay, so we're gonna get to Robert Mitchum here in a minute, but let's go over Laura's asshole cop husband, Lawson.
Yeah.
What a bro name.
Yeah.
Sorry if any Lawson's listening. But
no, if your last name is Lawson, okay, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that because I have a friend Mike and Mike Lawson, and but if your first name is Lawson, yeah, fuck you.
Did you see? I mean, yeah, his first name's Lawson. Did you see his last name? Lawson Chad. Just kidding. I made that up, but it seems real. Okay, well, Lawson is played by mediocre action star Michael Dudikoff. I'm going to say it. He's known as the original American Ninja.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I think Dudikoff is kind of, even though to me he's a very forgettable actor. He doesn't have a recognizable face. When he pops up, I'm like, hey, it's that dude, you know, and it's Michael Dudikoff. He does seem like he could be like maybe a little poster, like a poster child for Cannon Group. Like he's an action star through and through, but he's just forgettable. I think his most memorable role is in Albert Pune's Radioactive Dreams from 1984. I recently watched that earlier this year, and it was the same thing. It was a 35 millimeter for Weird Wednesday when Albert Pune passed away.
Yeah.
He popped up, and I was like, I've seen that guy before. Who is he? It's Michael Dudikoff.
Yeah. I hate to say this because, like, I know it's me. It's not Albert Pune. It's me. I don't like his movies. Like in Radioactive Dreams is the same thing. I watched it and I was just like, I can't stand this movie.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, all the characters are very grating in it.
There's a good child death in it. Thank you, Laird, for pointing that out. Because otherwise I wouldn't have watched it. But,
yeah, I think that month I watched Captain America.
Yeah.
Which was fun. I didn't go to the others. I think it was like Alien from LA.
Right.
But Dollman.
I know you love Dollman. I can't. Every single time I try, I'm like, I'm gonna give Pune another shot. Yeah. And I just watch it and I'm like, I just don't like it. And I'm sorry, he was a wonderful human, but I don't like his movies. And I can't. So, But speaking of child death, Avenging Force. I highly recommend that actioner. Michael Dudikoff, New Orleans set, really fun. There's a fantastic child death in it. Like a kid just fucking rolls off the roof. It's amazing. But yeah, Dudikoff is he's plug and play, just plop him into any like standard action movie and he's fine as what he is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, sadly to say, well, I'm going to talk about some of my favorites in this movie. And it has nothing to do with the leads other than Mark Hamill.
Sure.
Because Dudikoff, what's her name, Gersak, like they're just not very good.
Yeah, they're there doing a thing, and that's pretty much it. Dudikoff is a charisma vacuum.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
He just has none, and he takes it away from anyone else that's on screen at the same time as him.
That's a very good way to put it. But I mean, I enjoyed him being such a fucking asshole. Like,
yeah, it was different.
Infuriating. Yeah,
it was different than what I'm used to seeing him in. I'll give it that.
Yeah, so let's talk. One more cast member that I want to talk about, which is a wasted role. It's a surprise appearance of sorts. The great Robert Mitchum,
right,
playing Harry Powell himself, but he's playing Justin's doctor, Dr. Hardy from Hendersonville. Everybody knows Robert Mitchum.
Yes.
Unlike Dudikoff, he has such a recognizable face. Out of the Past, Night of the Hunter, both Cape Fear movies. He's a narrator in the Western Tombstone, which I love.
I forgot about that.
But yeah, he pops up, in the last 15 minutes, and he probably has, I'd say, 2 total minutes of screen time.
Yeah, if that. And he's collecting a paycheck here. It's, I guess if you're a Robert Mitchum completist, like, this is important to you, but he's not doing anything here, folks.
No, he's just an emotionless doctor reading lines.
Yeah.
So that's it for the cast. I mean, I do want to point out Bob Brauer plays one of the cops, probably does his own stunts at the time.
Yeah.
Any other cast members that caught your eye?
No, that's all I got on my list. So we'll get into our thoughts right after this promo from our network.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Okay, I already mentioned that I feel like this movie should maybe be called "Everyone is a Stupid Fucking Asshole," the movie, especially men.
Yeah.
But I appreciate how fast it moves.
Oh, yeah. This movie does not stop.
Yeah, big fan of the pacing. I mean, there just isn't much time spent on setting things up. It just kind of immediately throws you into this chase. So much happens in the first 20 minutes, and then even more happens like in the next 10 minutes. It's great.
Yeah. I think it being like a car movie helps it to feel that way too, because you're not only like you're physically moving on screen all the time. So it feels like things are happening and things are moving. So it's kind of like that when you trick yourself when you're stuck in traffic and it's like, okay, I'll get there at the exact same time if I stay on Mopac versus getting on Lamar, which I'll actually be moving. But and so you trick yourself into thinking that, and I think that's a small part of it, but there is a lot happening in the film as well. But I think it being a car movie, a car chase movie, a car escape by car movie kind of helps move it along a little bit too.
Yeah, there are some scenes that I felt like are, they go on a little bit too long. Mm-hmm. I felt like it lost a little steam when Hamill, I'm going to jump around here, but lets Laura go and, he kind of sabotages her tire and stuff. Yeah. Again, maybe it's just like what you pointed out. That's when it kind of stops and slows down. They're on the side of the road. There's a lot of talking going on. It definitely not ruins the whole movie, but it affects the pacing that you were kind of used to for those first 45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene where Dudikoff is crawling through the air vents at the end in the hospital. And I'm like, dude, Jesus Christ, this guy is lost. Like, we were spending 2 minutes of him walking through air ducts. I mean, cut out some scenes. This movie easily could have been under 80 minutes.
Yeah.
It's still a short runtime. It's under 90, but
it could have been shorter.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as it starts, the first, 45 minutes or so, I think this thing is a bullet. I really like it.
What you're saying though, like it just jumps right into the beginning. I think it doesn't it starts with her leaving her husband, but it doesn't really establish like why, other than her saying we just don't get along. And
yeah, she said, I'm married to you, but you're married to your job.
Right.
And we can't, I can't compete.
But the thing is like, and of course and we'll get to the fucking end, but it never really establishes like, why is this such a big deal that you would leave him for that? Like, he's clearly abusive because, okay, so she gets in her car to leave and he's like, I'm not letting you go. And he sits in the car and he buckles his seatbelt and she's like, okay, fine. I'm like, what? Who would do that? Nobody who is not abusive would do the things that he did. He gets in the car. So if you don't let your partner leave when they want to, you get in the car with them, you threaten to get every cop in the state after her, and then steal cars to chase her down. That's a fucking wall puncher.
Yeah, well, he's stealing cars and he's running through fucking road barriers
Yeah.
as a cop
Yes.
to chase his wife
Yeah.
because he's fucking pissed. And he's causing these hazards that citizens are going to drive through this road and they're going to die. Like,
Yes.
because he's breaking through roadblocks.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the very beginning, this Lawson character, you would think he's the villain straight off the bat.
That's the
I'm like-
first time I watched it. That's what I thought. I was like, oh shit, this is going to be like her trying to escape her fucking abusive husband. But then she's also got to contend with this. So it's like, oh no. And then again, we'll talk about the end later, but like, it turns into like, oh, well, lesser of two evils, I guess, kind of thing, which is fucking bullshit. But
It's terrible.
Yeah.
The ending's bad. But yeah, Lawson and Justin, so Dudikoff and Hamill, they're the same fucking character as far as I'm concerned. They're both yelling and demanding Laura to stay with them.
Yeah.
The whole fucking movie. And Dudikoff says something like, there's another thing that he said that it's like red flag city. It's when he wrecks the fucking patrol police cruiser. His wife rams him.
Yeah.
And then he goes to his friend who has a taxi. And he says to his friend, I need her back in the worst ways. Like, you have no idea. It's scary how unstable this guy is.
Fucking disgusting. And he thinks ice cream can fix their relationship. Like,
yeah. So
like,
I have a feeling that was her plan. Like he was like, I'm not getting out of the car. And she's like, okay, fine, have it your way. Like in the back of her mind, she's like, I'm going to ditch this dumb shit.
Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. But like the fact that he would propose that, like he says, let's get some ice cream. You'll feel better after you have some. If
you always do.
Yeah. And I'm like, ice cream doesn't fix that. I tried mint chip for my marriage. That shit does not fucking work. I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. And then,
I'm sorry. Wait, I need to take that back. I don't want to like make it sound like my ex was abusive. He was not. That was just not a good marriage. Holy shit. I needed to say that.
No, I didn't get that. I didn't take
well,
that
the rest of the world does not know my
Right.
marriage. So I need to make sure people don't think that about my ex-husband. He's a wonderful human.
Yeah, I mean, to top it off, just to really drill home how much of a fucking unstable asshole Lawson is, he's going into cafes asking people if he's seen, if people have seen his wife, and the guy's making jokes and stuff like, "Who ordered a taxi?" Because he's driving a taxi at that point.
Yeah,
and
he's like, he didn't steal a taxi. He borrowed it, but
he borrowed
still.
it. He stole the police cruiser though. He steals another car later.
There's the stolen or borrowed car count is 4 plus a bus in this movie. By the way,
4 plus a bus.
Yeah,
it's good. But yeah, this guy makes a joke about his taxi, and he's a cop, Lawson, and he's like, "Look, Jack, I'm tired, I'm pissed, I'm ready to kill, so don't fuck with me."
Mm-hmm.
He's just talking to some dude. Like, this guy's a fucking aggressive. When the car starts dying, he's driving a car. Oh, it's on fire, and he's going to the hospital at the end, and he's yelling at the car, "Don't die, you fucker!"
Yeah,
I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy is
terrifying.
He's almost scarier than Hamill, because Hamill, his Justin character, I'm not going to say that they're trying to justify his traumatic past, justify his killings, because they keep bringing up these traumatic pasts with his.
Yeah.
He tells story about his mother killing his sister, but Dudikoff is just straight up a fucking. It makes me hate all men.
Yeah. I mean, Hamill's character would be easier to manipulate. Like, once you understood what does he want here? What's his goal? Okay, I can figure this out and then figure out a way out of this. Yeah. With Dudikoff, it's like, you just got to straight up ditch this guy at the fucking ice cream shoppy, and that's it.
Dudikoff should be definitely locked away forever.
Yeah, take that fucker's badge away.
Yeah.
Ugh.
He's aggressive. Hamill should just be not incarcerated in jail, but just put him in a health facility.
Put him in a good therapy program. He can get better. Dudikoff, no, if you're an asshole built in like that, you're
but Hamill, he's my favorite character, obviously, in this. He gives me major. We've already talked about Brad Dourif, but he gives me major Brad Dourif vibes. From his appearance and to his voice, especially. And I never really put the two together because I never watched that new Chucky movie from 2019, but Mark Hamill took over as the voice of Chucky.
Right. Yeah. I didn't see it either. Cause sorry, it's only original Chucky. You know what? I don't love the Child's Play series, but I can say with a lot of confidence that I think from the first one through I don't know what the last one was before the remake, Curse or
It might have been Curse or Cult. I don't know.
one of the two.
Yeah.
All the way up and through that, it has the most solid output of any franchise. Like I'm talking Friday the 13th, the Freddy movies, Halloween, especially Halloween's at the fucking bottom.
Yeah, but if you compare like the first three of a series, I mean, I think the first three of Child's Play are the best. I think the first three of Halloween might be the strongest of sequels.
Yeah,
and
but like when you start like factoring in like the later movies, like I actually really liked. I don't remember if it was Curse or Cult, but whichever one took place when they brought in Brad Dourif's daughter, Fiona.
Yeah,
she's great, and this is me talking about a horror movie made in the last 20, 30 years that I actually like. And, I mean, not like is a strong word. I wasn't vitriolic about it. I guess I'll leave it at that. But as I am with the new Halloween movies and, everything else.
Yeah. I mean, I saw so many of Dourif mannerisms and voices and just a lot going on in Midnight Ride that I think I do want to actually give the new Chucky a try now. I think it's streaming. I think I'm going to check it out.
If it's streaming for free, I'll think about it.
It's on Prime right now, I think.
Free?
Yeah, free.
Okay, maybe.
But Hamill's, I mean, obviously we've talked about his Joker laugh. I mentioned, I think, when I talked about this pick during Two Fisted Tales, that I think he kind of found his Joker laugh in Midnight Ride. Mm-hmm. I think he nailed it a year later playing the trickster in the Flash 2 TV movie in 1991. I mean, and then he perfected it in Batman Mask of the Phantasm in 93. But everybody needs to go pull clips from his role as the trickster from the Flash 2 TV movie. His laugh isn't fucking insane. And his look is totally stolen by Jim Carrey as the Riddler in Batman Forever.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, my favorite memory of Hamill as Justin in Midnight Ride is him casually sucking on that fake eye. And he's like, I'm getting hungry. Let's stop for something to eat. Sucking on that fake eye is the best. So good.
Yeah, it's gross.
So I shouted out the cinematographer. I called him out. I love the way this looks. It's very 90s thriller. It gave me Night Game vibes with like the foggy blues, the highways, the nights. It just gives me kind of comfort, these type of movies.
Yeah.
Where they're stuck in between decades, it has kind of an 80s feel, but me in my 90s, I'm getting some of these 90s feels coming in. It's a perfect time in movie making history.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, it does have the horror movie tag on it, and there are some kills in this. And right. I think that type of cinematography kind of lends itself well to like this era slasher as well. And I wouldn't call this a slasher. I mean, there is, we do have a serial killer, but it doesn't fit sort of the formula for that. I mean, I guess like the motel lady with the fake eye, that was off screen now that I think about it.
Yeah. As far as, I mean, the horror of this movie is Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
And probably Dudikoff. Yeah,
it's like,
I think the scariest scene is when they pick up that girl, that lady Joan, who's arguing with her boyfriend.
Right. Yeah.
And Mark Hamill forces his way into her home, and that whole scene is very creepy. It's scary to watch.
Yeah. I mean, we've done movies before that are like more borderline like thriller movie, but they have a horror movie tag on them. But I mean, I would definitely this is an action horror movie. It's action for the most part. Action thriller, however you want to.
Yeah, I mean, it would make what was it called? The Road, the segment in Two Fisted Tales,
King of the Road.
King of the Road. Yeah. Like they're very similar in like horror action, like
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene of that lady Joan being killed by Mark Hamill's character, I looked her up because she looked familiar. Leslie Dean, she played Tracy in Freddy's Dead, and she's also 976 Evil and Girlfriend from Hell. But what was really interesting as I was looking her up is that she was in a dance pop group called Femme to Femme and toured Europe opening up for Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson. It's Joan. That scene is the scariest.
Yeah.
And then, I thought it was very odd and didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Maybe you made sense of it, but that he carried around a Polaroid camera and took pictures of everything. Yeah. What was the purpose of that? I was trying to think of other, and I've seen movies where killers take pictures of their bodies, of their victims' bodies, but it seemed to kind of play into like police procedural stuff and cops finding out like who it is. But he just walked around with the Polaroid.
If there would have been some like throwaway line by Mitchum at the end explaining that, then maybe it could have tied it together. It does. I'll posit a theory when I get to my double feature pick about it because I've got a Polaroid connection for that one.
Nice.
But yeah, it never gets really explained in this one. So yeah, I think that scene of him pushing his way into the house is definitely the scariest moment. My favorite moment is when he blows up 4 cops at the gas station.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And he makes sure like other cops see him for like, they see their dead cop friends first. And then he's like, gotcha, bitch. Blows them all up. I mean, my favorite is I love the fake eye scene where as soon as she pops up and she's this lady who's running like a seedy motel, it's like, are you going to get a room?
Yeah.
And Mark Hamill's just staring at her. He's like, I don't like her. She's got a fake eye. And he takes her eye. I mean, that one's great. Another one of my favorite scenes is, Mark Hamill, he's a fucking master of disguise in more ways than one. He pops up in so many different uniforms throughout this, but he pops up as the bus driver. And did he kill the bus driver by stabbing him to death with a gun? Because it's like lodged. It's lodged in his cheek. I was like, or did he shoot him and shove the gun into the gun? I wish that was shown.
I wish they had shown that because my first thought was like, did he stab him with a gun?
He's got a pistol sticking out of his cheek. And I have to point out, this is the least busiest highway.
Oh yeah.
In the world.
Yeah, no one's driving it. And they're on their way to Santa Barbara. I'm sorry. There's no fucking, like, I know that, like, there was a roadblock and they're like, oh, you got to go this way.
Well, he says take Coast Highway, which seems like,
Pacific Coast Highway is fucking busy. And that doesn't look anything like it because Pacific Coast Highway, for the most part, is on the coast.
Yeah. There's like 8 total drivers in this movie on the road.
And all their cars get blow up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Except for the truck driver driving the cars, who is not very good at his job because when Dudikoff is stealing the car off of there, how do you not know those ramps are now down and scraping?
Yeah, and slowing you down.
Anyway, I'm like,
the dude was like eating an apple and listening to.
Yeah, he's grooving out. He's doing his thing. He's listening to Ramones getting ready to run over a kid or something, But cool stunt, bro. But don't you know what's happening back there?
Yeah, I mean, the road and the very little people on the road sets up for so many perfect coincidences. Like Hamill being picked up by Laura. Then he's picked up by Lawson. Then he's picked up by a bus. Then he picks up Laura in the bus. Then Lawson steals a car and a semi and catches up with him. It's like, okay, it makes for all these a perfect 90s thriller situation.
Yeah.
Because they have to catch up with each other. Nobody's getting away. It seems like cars drive 2 miles an hour in this movie. Mm-hmm. Let's jump to the ending. So first off, there's a fight between, they meet up at, Hamills takes Laura he makes it to the doctor in Hendersonville. Robert Mitchum's there. Dudikoff shows up. Hamill and Dudikoff have this fight all over the hospital for like 5 minutes. And it felt like Peter Griffin fighting Ernie the Giant Chicken from The Family Guy. It goes on and on. They're rolling down fucking stairs. They're breaking through windows. I loved it.
Yeah, but that's great. Yeah.
The ending is so fucking annoying. The setup and the payoff. Laura's trying to get away from her asshole husband, but he essentially, quote, saves the day because he kills Hamill. And she basically gives him another chance, even though he's clearly a fucking asshole. So you think Hamill's dead. But of course, you're expecting it because Hamill's been doing it all movies, been popping up, in different roles. So he pops up in the elevator and Dudikoff shoots him in the head.
Yeah, and the point of view shots, he's going to pop up too. Like there's no there's no real jump scare of like, is he dead yet? Like he's supposedly just been electroshocked, like which was the whole point of him going there in the first place because he wanted Laura to get ECT or EST, electroshock EST. And
I think he calls it ECT in the movie.
does he?
I think
That's
so.
why it's
I remember it
confusing
popped
me.
up and I was like, wait, what did he ECT? That's not right.
Okay. Yeah. And so you know it's coming. But at that point, I'm so annoyed that I'm like, he jumps up and I'm just like, yeah, I knew he was going to jump up and shoot him. And she goes back to her fucking abusive husband because she's like, oh, well, he saved me from the psychopath. I'm like, that's not a fucking reason to go back to an
No.
abusive husband.
No, and what really fucking annoyed me is more than once throughout the movie, they mentioned that he got her out of Russia.
Yeah.
Like she owes him everything because like he took her to the United States.
Yeah.
And that whole, maybe because she has an accent, but that whole fucking backstory, whatever it might be, it didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense, and it makes it extra gross.
It seems to, yeah, it does. And it seems to try and justify, like, this is a good guy, you know, and it doesn't. Like, Dudikoff is the villain. I feel like he should have died with Hamill.
Yes.
That would have been and then she walks away.
She makes it to Santa Barbara to her friend's house.
And then
like,
Robert Mitchum shows up knocking at the door, and he's like, I just wanted to check in on you. And then Sexy Saxophone movie starts, credits roll. That's the way it should
I like
have
your
been.
ending much better.
And then at the end, it said dedicated to William Browder, who I think is Bob Browder's father.
Oh, yeah.
So that would have been a much better ending instead of like Hamill's being shot in the head. And did you notice too, there was blood like all over the fucking place in that elevator when he dies?
Yeah, it's fine.
No,
it is fine. The ending is not fine, but
the movie is.
Yes.
I mean, I have a lot of fun with Midnight Ride.
Yeah.
It's a comfort movie. I love the way it looks. I love these 90s thrillers. If you're going in for horror, it's not too much horror. Hamill's sells the role. It's more effective than, I mean, All Men Are Fucking Terrible. It's more effective than Alex Garland's Men movie, which is like, you know what you're getting into, but this shows how fucking terrible men are.
Yeah.
So obviously it's easy to compare this to The Hitcher. You know, Rutger Hauer's The Hitcher. That would be a perfect double feature pick, right?
I would love to get hitchhiked, kidnapped by and stalked by Rutger Hauer, though.
I mean, I think Hamill goes harder as far as craziness.
He goes hard, but
yeah, he doesn't have the look of Rutger Hauer and the coolness.
Yeah.
But what would you? It's probably not The Hitcher. What would you pair with Midnight Ride?
Yeah, I think Hitcher is definitely. There's a few hitchhiking movies for sure out there that I think could make sense. Even like some older like Hitchhike. So I went with a movie that's been on my watch list for a really long time, and I finally watched it yesterday because I thought of the whole premise. So plot wise, they have a lot in common, and that's Richard Stanley's Dust Devil from 1992. For folks who haven't seen it, Dust Devils are these body hopping demons in Africa that murder people who are on the cusp of like just letting go, maybe killing themselves, or they just don't have anyone who loves them. Basically, people who are lost souls, but not dead. So a woman leaves her abusive husband, and she picks up a dust devil who's hitchhiking, and he has a Polaroid camera.
Oh.
And he takes pictures of all of the people who pick him up. And so I think for him, it's more like documenting his soul taking, his killings and things like that. Like it just gives him, there's still some humanity in the Dust Devils as far as the narrator explains it to us.
There's a narrator?
There's a narrator in this, yes. So I think that's part of it. For Hamill, I think, he's doing kind of the same thing, but on a much more sort of infantile level where he's just like a kid who's like someone gave him a camera and he's like, can take picture.
Right.
Thing,
Yeah.
But I do think there's some kind of shared element there where it's like they're documenting this adventure to them, whereas the Dust Devil is much more like murderous intent. Hamill has that too, but not as much unless he's provoked.
It's like him capturing his road trip, like his vacation back to home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so this woman, she leaves her abusive husband. She picks up this Dust Devil who's hitchhiking. He's got a Polaroid camera. But then she has to contend with him. But the Dust Devil is having these sort of conflicting human feelings, and they have this weird relationship. So, like I said, it's a similar sort of base plot, like abusive woman leaving, picks up hitchhiker with the Polaroid camera. But the gore here is really great, even in the black and white crime scene photos. very different artistically. This is not a Canon film. This is a Richard Stanley film. He did Hardware, the new Color Out of Space with Nick Cage more recently. And it was it's driving me nuts because the guy who plays the Dust Devil in this, I was like, I know who that is. Who is this? And I was like, my brain can do this. I'm not going to look it up. Halfway through the movie, I scream, "White Man from Town." And I was like, and I'm so glad I was watching this by myself, because if I was in a theater watching this, I might have gotten some looks of like, and having to explain like, no, it's the guy from Thinner, which I know you hate Thinner, but I there's a part of me that like Thinner is like the trashiest Stephen King movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's completely offensive. There's so much wrong with it, but because it's pure trash is kind of why I like it.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny that you brought up Thinner is because Nathan from I Hope You Suffer, he's been listening to some of our past episodes. Yeah. He said he was a little behind, and he listened to me talking about Thinner and how I said, Nathan like loves this movie. Like, look at his rating and his review.
Yeah.
And he messaged me and he's all, this is a joke between me and my wife. Like, I don't really like Thinner that much. I don't think it's the best Stephen King adaptation. I just do it to kind of joke on him.
Okay.
So I don't know if you wanted me to clarify that or not, but I'm pointing it out now.
Okay. Well, there you go, Nathan.
Because I did hate on it when I was talking about it.
You did. And you know what? It's totally justified and fair because it's racist. It's terrible, but the
practical effects are amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, White Man from Town is in Dust Devil. He's the main bad guy.
That's funny.
So anyway, Dust Devil 1992. I looked it up. It is streaming on Prime to rent, but I got this from the library. So what about you?
Okay, so based on this poster alone, my brain went straight to Bill Lustig's action thriller Hit List. It has a guy kind of hanging on the front of a car. There's that Dudikoff scene where Hamill ties him to the car.
Yeah.
But Hit List has Jan Michael Vincent in it playing the Dudikoff role, where he's chasing the deranged man played perfectly by Lance Henriksen.
Yes.
Who kidnapped his son. But there's not much horror at all in Hit List. It's an action through and through. And there's not really any long car chases like the poster kind of hints at. But I'm sticking with stuntman turned film director double feature. Ooh. Okay, and I'm going with the already mentioned class of 1999 2, The Substitute. From 1999. If anybody actually decides to do this double feature, Midnight Ride and Class of 1999 2, it's going to test some people's patience. But if you are in the mood for a night of excessive explosions in between your murders, watch these back to back.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that these are stuntmen that, are directing. Each of these were this is directed by Spiros Rosados. This is his second feature film, just like Midnight Ride was for Bob Browver. Rosados' first film was called Fast Getaway, starring Corey Haim and Cynthia Rothrock.
Oh.
Immediate watch list. I'm going to watch that. But yeah, I already mentioned Class of 1992 has awesome stunt gags, cyborg teacher hunting students, Rambo style, booby traps, gasoline-filled paintballs, way too many unnecessary explosions. Yeah. A lot more murdering going on and showing the killings, though. So it does have more of a horror element. It's a great time. It's on Tubi.
I think, if you did that double feature, make a drinking game of, every time there's an explosion.
That's good.
Because there's at least 7 exploded or crashed cars in Midnight Ride.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I have not seen Class of 1999 2.
There's at least, I could think of 3 immediately, because that's when he does his one-liners.
Right.
I like that. Drink every time there's an explosion.
There you go.
You can call it an unnecessary explosion because that's what they are. They're just cars don't explode like that. Maybe they do.
Yeah.
Okay, wrapping up October.
Yes, which means we are on to No Rules November.
No Rules November.
So for folks who are new to No Rules November, we get to break our under 1,000 views on Letterboxd rule for 1 month.
Yes.
And this is usually the hardest pick.
It is. Like I'm happy, but I'm not happy with some of my last picks. It's way more stressful finding a pick for this.
It can be, yeah. And I even started like a little side list of like, here's some potentials, because you don't want to do like I'm still not going to pick Suspiria,
Right.
We still,
the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right. We still want to try for still kind of in our wheelhouse unsung horrors.
Yes.
Previous years I've gone with some of my favorite Euro horror movies. Who Can Kill a Child, greatest movie ever made, and Blood Spattered Bride. I'm not keeping with that streak. And instead, I'm going in the most opposite direction I could possibly go. And I'll be upfront and I will say that this movie is not good, nor any of the director's other films, but there is an endearing quality to all of them. And his work embodies a lot of what we try to champion here at Unsung Horrors. So I'm sorry, not sorry, but the next episode we will be covering The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies! ! From 1964, directed by Ray Dennis Steckler.
Yes, Steckler.
So Zach Carlson is going to be joining us for this one. He co-wrote the booklet essay for the Severin box set. And he, of course, was a previous guest on our Bleeding Skull episode. That was a lot of fun. So we'll probably be spending a lot of time on Steckler's other films as well, but still mainly focusing on Incredibly Strange Creatures. So this film and most of the non-sex films that are on the Severin box set, such as Blood Shack, Thrill Killers, Ratfinka Boo Boo, those are also available to watch on Tubi if you don't have the Steckler set. So yeah, No Rules November. Steckler, baby.
Hell yeah.
So people are going to be so mad.
No, I'm excited. I have not dived into Steckler, and I'm ready to.
My first Steckler, I'll probably talk about this next episode, was a Ratfinka Boo Boo, and that's R.A.P. Boo Boo. That's who my former dog, was named after. So, and it wasn't because I loved the movie, but I was like, that's such an adorable name for a sidekick. And Boo Boo just did not fit my dog's personality at all because she was such a bitch. And we'll talk about that. I'm sure it'll mostly be we're sticking a mic in front of Zach and it'll be him most of it, which is fine.
No, it's going to be great listening to him talk.
Yeah. So be sure to tune in for that. But this is coming out in October. We're still in October, which means we're still doing our Horror Gives Back challenge. You might be tired of us talking about it to death, but we do it for charity. So you can't be mad at us for that.
No, you can't.
Yeah. Donate $1 for every horror movie you watch in October. We have a fundraiser set up through Best Friends Animal Society. A link to that is in our link tree. We'll put that in show notes as well. We do have prompts that you can follow. You don't have to. You can just watch whatever you're planning to watch on your own. You can do a flat donation if you're only just watching whatever you want, anything.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do. If you want to kick in, that's great.
Even if you're not watching movies, you want to throw in $5.
Exactly. I've got, we've already had some people throw in some donations already, which is great. Thank you, folks. You'll definitely be getting a shout out on our episode when we cover all of our picks.
Yes.
That'll be coming out next month in November as well. You can join our Discord. You can see what other people are sharing for their picks daily for each of the categories. Some people are sharing non-category picks that they're just watching, which is great too. I've added a lot of stuff to my watch list based on what people have been sharing. And a link to our Discord is also in show notes and in our link tree. You can also follow both Lance and I on Letterboxd, where our lists for Horror Gives Back are. I'm on Letterboxd at Hex Massacre, as well as Instagram and Twitter, same handle.
Yeah, and I'm at Instagram and Letterboxd at El Shaibi.
Thanks, everyone, for taking this midnight ride with us. And we will be back next month with No Rules November.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
When the world is full of care and every headline screams despair, when all is rape, starvation, war, and life is vile, then there's a certain thing I do, which I shall pass along to you, that's always guaranteed to make me smile. Yes! I go loony as a light bulb battered bug, simply loony, sometimes fold and chew the rug. Mr. Life is swell in a padded cell, it'll chase those blues away. You can trade your gloom for a rubber room and injections twice a day. Just go loony like an acid casualty, or a loony or a preacher on TV. When the human race wears an anxious face, when the bomb hangs overhead, when your kid turns blue, it won't worry you. You can smile and nod instead. When you're loony, then you just don't give a fig. Man so puny, and the universe so big. If you hurt inside, get certified. And if life should treat you bad, don't get even, get mad. Yes!
Hey, it's Death by Video.
I'm Phil.
I'm Kit.
And I'm Graham saying welcome to our podcast full of merry movie mayhem.
Ever wonder what an Irish kung fu movie would look like?
It's called Fatal Deviation, and we covered it.
Ever wonder what a movie about 1,000 cats would look like?
It's called Night of 1,000 Cats, and we covered it.
And it stars Hugo Stiglitz. Listen to Death by Video to hear us discuss and dissect some of the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest films ever made. All this and more on Death by Video! Woo!